Welcome to Inside the Game on Hockey Night in Canada, Punjabi. And I know a lot of hockey fans, especially on the West Coast, are getting excited for the Winter Classic, New Year's Day, Seattle, Washington. It's the Vegas Golden Knights against the Seattle Kraken. The game itself is a spectacle, something that the NHL has done really, really well over the years. But we want to go behind the scenes of how does a Winter Classic, an outdoor game like this, happen? And I'm pleased to be joined by Andrew Higgins, NHL Senior Manager of Facilities and Hockey Ops, and also Mike Craig, Senior Director of Facilities and Hockey Ops. First of all, guys, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Thank you.
No, it's a pleasure to have you. And okay, so this is one of the key dates on the hockey calendar. People, travel to these events, but for you guys, getting something going for an outdoor classic like this, the Winter Classic at T-Mobile Park. Mike, I'll start with you. Like, when does this process really get started for you? Because we see the finished product. When does this get on your radar?
On our radar, we usually have, a couple of different site visits leading up to the event itself. For this one in particular, we arrived here on December 17th, where we parked the truck to really start to get everything ready. So typically for these events, we're about 11 days from when we park the truck to when we're able to have somebody lace them up and get out on the rink.
Excellent. And, Andrew, for you, I've read some of the articles kind of talking about the prep. And Mike, you mentioned the truck. This is something I want to get into later on. But overall, like when you start doing the site visits, what are you looking out for, Andrew?
It's really kind of everything. As simple things as, hey, where can we get some water from? We're going to use about 25,000 gallons of water to build the rink. So gotta find a place for that to come from. So from even just, we're sitting in our kind of our crew room. Where are we going to stage our crew? That's, upwards of 20 sort of just for the ice crew alone. So it's really kind of just getting a total overview of, in some cases, people haven't even been to the city before. So, where's our hotel? How are we getting to the rink? It's pretty encompassing of all the things that we need to kind of cross off our list.
You mentioned a bit about the personnel there. I'm curious to know, how much personnel does your entire team have? Like, how many people does it require to, build ice for a game like this? But on top of that, like physical material, what do you like bringing with you to an event like this to put all of this together?
Yeah, so our crew, just ice crew alone is about 20 people, but there would be hundreds working on this project. Mostly local, but we are traveling. Various companies. This is a huge production, obviously, and then equipment wise, we're upwards of 10 transport trucks that we're shipping just from our warehouse in Toronto alone. Not to mention what our vendors are bringing.
Mike, building ice in a rink versus an outdoor rink like this and on a grand scale, for a lot of folks that aren't in that world, like what is the biggest difference? How big of a change is this for you, especially dealing with the elements?
I think you just touched on it there. I mean, the elements are the biggest thing. So, we've had to deal with, sun, cold temperatures, rain, heavy snow, a lot of different elements there. So, it's always constantly changing. We throw on top of that we are a temporary system. And not a permanent system such as you would find in a rink. So a lot of different variables there to consider and to forecast and really try to be on top of it. So we've done a number of these over the years, and we have a very experienced crew now that we've seen a lot of different scenarios. So we're able to really kind of forecast and adapt and really kind of dial things in.
So I live in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is not all that different from a climate as Seattle. Presents its own challenges, being a pretty wet climate. Like, how do you deal with that, guys, when you're preparing for something like this?
Well, so we're fortunate both when the game was in Vancouver. Obviously, we had a roof there, and we have a roof here at the ballpark. If not, the rain would be a huge challenge for us. So we're fortunate that we've got a roof here that we're hoping to have open on practice and game day, weather sort of permitting. But it's been closed and it will be closed the whole build. So, we're dealing with some humidity. This is still open air here, so the sides aren't closed in, which is, unique. So it still has that outdoor feel to it. But we're very fortunate that we're able to have the roof closed.
All right, there's a lot of novices out there trying to do their own outdoor rinks. What's the ideal conditions for an outdoor kind of build for your guys? Like, if you had the dream scenario and you're going to climb it, like, what is the perfect temperature for that?
Uh, yeah, I would say that it's not far off from here.
Okay.
We ideally, in our buildings, we're kind of in the low 60s, temperature wise. So if we're in the, mid 40s to mid 50s, it's nice to work in. The ice is great in that condition. There's the, sort of misconception that colder is better. Colder is actually worse for us. When we're in Winter Classic in Minnesota, as an example, it's, well below freezing. We're actually trying to heat the ice to maintain it for the game. So, conditions that we're going to have here are actually really ideal for us.
Okay. This is a question for both of you, but Andrew, you mentioned the refrigeration truck. So this is a state-of-the-art truck that, just reading up on it, I've heard a lot about it. 53 feet, 300-ton truck. Like, how big of a role does that truck play in just building out this event and getting ready for it? I'll start with you, Mike.
Sure. I mean, that is obviously the heart of our whole operation, as far as the rink goes. I mean, that's where we are able to dial in all of our temperatures to within half a degree Fahrenheit. We travel with different refrigeration mechanics that really help us control that truck. So really, that is the heartbeat, and without it, there's obviously that's where the refrigeration system starts and ends, and really is the key component to this whole operation.
And you mentioned, you arrive in December 17th. This is a slow climb, so to speak. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes, but 2 weeks is still 2 weeks. It's a lot of work that goes into that. After the game is over, how do you and your team celebrate? Because I imagine just putting this thing together, mapping it out, planning it, talking to the various people in the local market, it's a lot of work. How do you guys let loose after the whole event hopefully goes smoothly and you guys can celebrate?
Yeah, well, usually we get to celebrate by taking it all apart and packing up for the next one. But no, it's certainly after the event. Obviously there's a lot of pressure leading up to the event that is pretty much gone once it's been successful. So for sure, there's a real change. Just hey, we made it through. It was a great event. We do get some time to sort of celebrate and just sort of have a crew dinner together, just something as simple as that, because for the most part, we work split shifts. So the crew really doesn't get to work together or be together other than kind of that crossover midday. So, usually after the event, it's a nice time just go out for a nice dinner and all be together and just sort of celebrate our successes.
That is awesome. And, for anybody that's going to attend this year as well, enjoy it. But also, there's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes. These two guys are an example of that, plus your team in Seattle as well. So, Andrew, Mike, thank you very much for joining us on Hockey Night in Canada Punjabi today. And I'm sure we'll be all watching on Sportsnet, if not in person. So keep up the great work and looking forward to this.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for watching as well. Make sure to comment, subscribe, and like. And we will come back next week with another interview.